What's up guys, Chuuper here, and I'm going to talk about the new jungle timer changes that Riot recently released to the PvE. There was quite a bit of negative feedback from the community, and I'd like to play devil's advocate and argue how some of the criticisms may be unwarranted. And no, Riot did not pay me to make this video. First, what exactly is Riot changing? Our current system does time buffs, but requires you to be in vision of the buff being taken for it to show up on the game's interface. If the PvE changes go through, the client will give red and blue buffs their own unique icons on the minimap. These icons will appear a minute before the buff respawns and then become increasingly more visible. Aside from that, the timers you know and love will still be there, and the other mechanics of the jungle icons in the minimap are left relatively unchanged. Very similarly to any time the jungle has changed, feedback has not been very kind. Numerous pros, most noticeably Crumbs, have come out against the changes. However, there are benefits to the changes, and although this is an unpopular opinion, Riot does have its players' interests in mind. By having the timers universally available, they're basically saying in big neon lights, hey, these are objectives too. Which they are. Don't be fooled. Every single team in any pro league will time a buff if they can, and if possible formulate a plan to either invade, defend, or consciously ignore it. In that sense, is it really that strange to treat the buffs the same way we treat Dragon and Baron? Granted, the latter two are much bigger and riskier objectives, but the principle of focusing team play around neutral objectives remains the same. Riot has gradually been trying to make the game much more team focused with the introduction of dynamic queue and clubs, and this jungle change falls right in line. Whether or not it's a good thing that they're trying to make the game more enjoyable by having to play with other people is a debate for another time. Also, I know change can be scary, but this is Riot trying to keep their game fresh. It's not the most earth-shattering change, but constantly looking to update the UI is a good thing and should always be in development with each patch until we get some super sleek, futuristic looking interface. The main criticism that I see from the community is the fact that Riot is making the game too easy. Now, that may not necessarily be true. Remember, the same criticism was imposed on the earlier jungle timer change that we all are familiar with now. The game didn't really drastically change at all. Lazy people got to get away with more information on the screen, and the tryhards who timed it, like the pros, just didn't have to anymore. It didn't really artificially inflate anyone's skill level or make it easier for the tryhards to beat the people who are more casual. Now, I did think that it was unnecessary to have jungle timers at all, and Riot could just let the players keep track of all this information themselves. You know, back on complexity, we actually practice quickly timing buffs and summoners. However, I see that this is a very hardcore mindset and doesn't necessarily matter to most of the player base. This all stems from some of the diehard community's need for the game to stay difficult, or quote-unquote hardcore. I absolutely adore a game that is very accessible, but has a certain complexity that draws players back for more. And I'm with you guys on that. League should absolutely be a game that rewards you for playing and exploring everything about it. But will these timers really detract from that? Like I said before, teams were already heavily contesting these buffs, and for most of the player base, you just have new mini dragons and barons that aren't actually new at all, but you get my point. In my opinion, this change is probably unnecessary, but I see where Riot is coming from in their effort to promote clarity and team play. If people are upset about League being too casual, I think this is the wrong issue to really look at. What we as a community should expect from the world's most popular MOBA is a fully functional sandbox mode and replays. Those are two things that maybe casuals won't really care about, but would do so much to increase the longevity and depth of the game, especially when you're looking at it as an esport. So I've probably rabbled on way too long now, but I really wanted to play devil's advocate in light of the negative backlash that came out with the jungle timer changes. As always, thanks for watching, and I will try to put out more content at a more consistent rate. Starting up has been a little difficult, but I've sort of gotten everything in line now. So, as always, thanks for the support. This is Chuuper, checking out.